The ship UES Frontier moved slowly through space near the Kepler 442 system in the year 2157. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge looking at the strange readings on his screens. His crew had been traveling for 3 months when they found the first signs of alien life. The signals were not like anything humans had seen before. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez worked at her station studying the alien transmissions. She was the best xenobiologist in the fleet and had spent years preparing for this moment. The sounds coming through the speakers made everyone on the bridge feel sick to their stomachs. The frequency was too low for human ears to hear properly, but their bodies could feel it. Commander Ryan Walsh checked the weapon systems one more time. He did not trust first contact situations and wanted to be ready for anything. The ship carried the latest human technology, but nobody knew what the aliens might have. Engineer Bobby. Chen was in the engine room making sure everything ran perfectly, while medic Amanda Torres prepared the medical bay for possible injuries. The alien ship appeared on their sensors like a massive shadow. It was 3 times larger than the Frontier and shaped like a giant insect with sharp edges everywhere. Long spikes came out from its hull and the metal looked black as space itself. Jake had seen many ships in his 20 years as a captain, but nothing like this. The communication came through the speakers in sounds that made the crew cover their ears. Dr. Rodriguez worked fast to translate the basic meaning. The aliens called themselves the Vorthak and they wanted to meet face to face. Jake agreed to let a small group come aboard the Frontier. He thought this would be safer than going to their ship. The airlock opened and 3 creatures walked into the human ship. They stood 8 feet tall with bodies covered in hard shells like beetles. Their arms ended in claws that could cut through steel, and their mouths dripped with acid that burned the floor where it fell. The biggest one had marks on its shell that looked like battle scars. This was Hive Lord Krextai, according to Dr. Rodriguez's translation. Jake stepped forward to welcome them, but the aliens did not seem interested in normal greetings. They walked around the bridge looking at everything with their large black eyes. The Hive Lord made sounds that hurt human ears, and the other 2 creatures moved to block the exits. Ryan Walsh put his hand on his weapon, but Jake told him to wait. Dr. Rodriguez tried to establish proper communication with the translation device she had built. She asked about their homeworld and their people. The Hive Lord answered, but the words that came through the translator made everyone on the bridge go cold. He spoke about hunting and prey, and how humans looked weak and soft. The alien leader explained that his people were great hunters who traveled the galaxy looking for new species to hunt. They had been watching human ships for months and decided that humans would make perfect prey for their young warriors to practice on. Human colonies would become hunting grounds where Vorthak could teach their children how to kill. Jake could not believe what he was hearing. These aliens saw humans as nothing more than animals to be hunted for sport. He told the Hive Lord that humans were intelligent beings who wanted peace between their species. The alien laughed with a sound like metal scraping against stone. The Hive Lord said that all prey thought they were intelligent until the hunt began. He had seen many species try to bargain for their lives, but it never mattered. Humans looked especially weak with their soft skin and small bodies. Their colonies would provide food and entertainment for many years. Ryan Walsh had heard enough and reached for his weapon, but the aliens moved faster than any human could. One of them grabbed Bobby Chen before anyone could react. Its claws went through his shirt and drew blood while the engineer screamed in pain. Amanda Torres tried to help him, but the second alien blocked her path. Jake ordered his crew to fight back, but the Vorthak were incredibly strong and fast. They moved like deadly dancers while humans stumbled trying to keep up. The Hive Lord grabbed Dr. Rodriguez and held her with claws at her throat. He told Jake that this was just a small taste of what would happen to all human colonies. The captain knew they had to escape before more aliens came aboard. He activated the emergency systems and blast doors started closing throughout the ship. The Vorthak were surprised by this and loosened their grip on the humans for just a moment. Ryan Walsh shot his plasma weapon at the nearest alien and burned through its shell. The creatures screamed in anger and pain, but the humans were already running. Jake grabbed Dr. Rodriguez while Ryan helped Bobby Chen, who was bleeding badly. Amanda Torres led them toward the escape pods as more blast doors sealed behind them. The aliens tried to follow but did not know the ship layout like the human crew did. They reached the bridge and Jake started emergency departure procedures. The Vorthak ship was already launching smaller attack craft that looked like metal wasps. The Frontier engines came online and pushed them away from the alien vessel. but the attack craft followed close behind. The next hour was filled with laser fire and explosions as the human ship tried to escape. The Vorthak weapons cut through their shields like paper and burned holes in the hull. Jake pushed the engines past their safety limits while his crew worked to keep the ship together. 3 Vorthak attack craft stayed with them no matter how fast they went. Dr. Rodriguez worked on Bobby Chen wounds while studying the alien blood samples they had collected during the fight. The Vorthak blood was green and seemed to eat through metal containers. She realized these creatures were perfectly designed for killing and had probably been hunting other species for thousands of years. The frontier, finally, reached the edge of human space after 2 days of running. The Vorthak ships stopped following them, but Jake knew they would be back. The aliens had seen human colonies on their navigation charts and now knew where to find them. He sent emergency messages to Earth and all human settlements warning them about the coming threat. As they limped home, Jake looked back at the enemy ships waiting at the border of human space. The Vorthak thought humans would be easy prey, but they had no idea what they were really dealing with. Humans had survived ice ages and world wars and asteroid impacts. They had climbed out of caves to reach the stars through determination and intelligence. The hunt was about to begin, but the Vorthak would soon learn that humans were not the prey they expected. The emergency meeting room on Earth was filled with the most important people in human space. Admiral Patricia Wells sat at the head of the table, looking at reports from the frontier and other ships that had encountered Vorthak scouts. The news was worse than anyone had imagined. 3 human colonies had already gone silent, and rescue ships found only empty buildings covered in alien claw marks. Colonel Marcus Davis slammed his fist on the table as he read the latest intelligence reports. The Vorthak were not just attacking random settlements. They were being systematic about it. Small colonies first to test human defenses, then larger ones as they learned how humans fought. Each attack was more organized than the last. Ambassador Helen Carter tried to find diplomatic solutions, but nobody was listening to her anymore. The Vorthak had made their intentions clear during first contact. They saw humans as prey animals, and nothing would change their minds about that. Dr. Nathan Brooks studied battle reports and found patterns in the alien attacks that worried him greatly. The Vorthak always attacked in small groups of 3 to 5 hunters. They used speed and fear to overwhelm their targets before anyone could organize proper resistance. Most human colonists were farmers and engineers who had never fought anyone before. The aliens treated them like cattle being rounded up for slaughter. News came in that New Montana colony had been captured 3 days ago. Sheriff Tony Mitchell had sent one final transmission before the communication array went down. His message was simple but terrifying. The aliens were keeping humans alive in cages like animals at a zoo. They were saving them for something worse than quick death. On New Montana, the surviving humans hid in underground tunnels that connected the old mining systems. Tony Mitchell led 43 people, including teacher Carol Peterson and her students from the colony school. They had managed to grab some food and basic supplies before the Vorthak hunting parties arrived, but everyone knew it would not last long. The aliens had turned the main settlement into some kind of hunting ground. They released small groups of captured humans and chased them through the streets for sport. The Vorthak young ones learned how to hunt by practicing on terrified colonists. The screams could be heard even in the deep tunnels where the survivors hid. Carol Peterson worked to keep the children calm while Tony organized the adults into teams. They had a few hunting rifles and mining equipment, but nothing that seemed useful against 8-foot-tall armored killers. The Vorthak had technology that could track human body heat and movement through solid rock. Back on Earth, Dr. Brooks continued studying the alien tactics and found something interesting. The Vorthak were incredibly dangerous as individual hunters, but they did not work well in large groups. Their hunting instincts made them compete with each other instead of cooperating like human soldiers would. This gave him an idea. Colonel Davis wanted to send the entire Earth fleet to attack the Vorthak immediately, but Admiral Wells knew that would be suicide. Human ships were not designed for combat against enemies this advanced. They needed time to adapt their weapons and tactics. More importantly, they needed to understand how these aliens thought and fought. The breakthrough came when Dr. Rodriguez finished analyzing the Vorthak blood samples from the frontier encounter. The aliens were physically superior to humans in almost every way. They were stronger and faster with natural armor and weapons built into their bodies. But they also had weaknesses that their arrogance prevented them from protecting. The Vorthak had been apex predators for so long that they never learned to deal with organized resistance. Every species they had hunted before either ran away or fought as individuals trying to save themselves. They had never faced prey that worked together as a coordinated group with long-term planning abilities. Meanwhile, on New Montana, the human survivors were learning these lessons the hard way. Tony Mitchell discovered that the Vorthak hunters could be confused by simple tricks that any human child would see through. They expected their prey to run in straight lines or hide in obvious places. When humans did something unexpected, the aliens often made mistakes. Carol Peterson came up with the idea of using the mining explosives they had found in the tunnels. The Vorthak were so confident in their armor that they walked into obvious trap areas without checking for dangers. The first explosion killed 2 alien hunters and wounded a third one badly enough that it had to retreat. The psychological effect on the remaining Vorthak was immediate and obvious. They had never been hurt by prey before and did not know how to handle the experience. Their hunting calls became more aggressive but also more desperate. For the first time in their lives, they were afraid of something they were supposed to be hunting. News of the successful resistance on New Montana reached other human colonies through hidden communication networks. Settlements that had been preparing to evacuate instead started digging in and setting up defenses. Mining colonies had explosives, while farming settlements had heavy equipment that could be turned into weapons. Dr. Brooks realized that humans had several advantages the Vorthak had never encountered before. Human endurance was legendary among Earth species. Humans could run for hours while most predators tired quickly. They could also survive in conditions that would kill most other life forms and adapt to new environments faster than any known species. More importantly, humans had something the Vorthak could never understand. They fought for each other instead of just for themselves. A human would risk death to save strangers, while Vorthak hunters would abandon wounded pack members to save themselves. This made human tactics completely unpredictable from the alien perspective. The reports from New Montana got better every day. Tony Mitchell's team had killed 6 more Vorthak hunters using coordinated ambushes and improvised weapons. They learned that the aliens were excellent at tracking single targets but became confused when following multiple humans moving in different directions at the same time. Carol Peterson discovered that Vorthak had excellent vision in low light but were nearly blind in complete darkness. The mining tunnels could be made completely black while humans used sound and touch to navigate. Several hunting parties got lost in the tunnel systems and were picked off one by colonists who knew every passage. Admiral Wells made the decision to send supplies and reinforcements to New Montana through stealth ships that could avoid Vorthak patrols. The successful resistance there was proving that humans could fight back against these aliens. More importantly, it was teaching them how to do it effectively. Colonel Davis started training special forces units based on lessons learned from the colonist fighters. Human soldiers who understood Vorthak weaknesses could be much more effective than regular troops using standard tactics. The key was to think like prey that had decided to become predators instead. The war was just beginning, but something fundamental had changed. The Vorthak had made a terrible mistake when they chose humans as their next hunting target. They thought they were dealing with soft, weak creatures who would provide easy sport for their young warriors. Instead, they had awakened something that would teach the galaxy a new definition of apex predator. General Sandra Lopez stood in the command center on Earth, looking at holographic displays that showed Vorthak positions across human space. Operation Bloodhound was ready to begin. Every human ship and ground unit had trained for this moment, when they would stop defending and start hunting the aliens who had tried to make them prey. The operation was massive in scope. 47 human fleets would attack Vorthak positions simultaneously across 12 star systems. The aliens would not have time to warn each other or coordinate their defenses. Major Pete Johnson had trained special marine units that specialized in close combat against Vorthak hunters using their own tactics against them. Captain Morrison took the Retribution to the Kepler system where the first alien attacks had happened. His mission was to eliminate every Vorthak presence in the area and capture any intelligence that could help with future operations. Dr. Rodriguez had developed new scanning techniques that could detect alien ships even when they were hiding behind planets or asteroids. The hunt began at exactly 800 hours Earth time. Human ships emerged from hyperspace jumps in perfect coordination and immediately began attacking Vorthak vessels before the aliens could react. Lieutenant Kelly Adams led fighter squadrons that swarmed around enemy ships like angry insects while destroying their weapons and engines. Systematically, on the ground, Major Johnson, Marines moved through alien hunting camps with deadly efficiency. The Vorthak had built these camps to hold human prisoners for their hunting games, but now they became killing grounds where human soldiers showed no mercy. Every alien hunter was eliminated quickly and quietly using techniques learned from colonial resistance fighters. The psychological warfare component was just as important as the physical attacks. Intelligence officer Maria Santos had learned to speak Vorthak language and broadcast captured alien distress calls on their communication frequencies. The message was simple but terrifying for the aliens to hear. The prey had become predators and nowhere was safe anymore. Dr. Rodriguez's teams had developed biological weapons that targeted Vorthak physiology specifically. The weapons used modified Earth bacteria that could eat through alien armor and cause painful infections in Vorthak tissue. More importantly, the biological agents could spread through alien ships and bases without affecting human forces. The first day of Operation Bloodhound was incredibly successful. 17 Vorthak hunting fleets were completely destroyed while human losses were minimal. The aliens had been so confident in their superiority that many of their ships were not even properly defended when the attacks began. They had never expected prey species to organize large-scale military operations. Captain Morrison found 3 more Vorthak prison camps in the Kepler system where hundreds of humans from different species were being held for hunting games. The liberation of these camps provided shocking intelligence about the full extent of alien hunting operations across the galaxy. The Vorthak had been systematically destroying civilizations for thousands of years. Commander Walsh interrogated captured Vorthak prisoners and learned that their society was based entirely on hunting weaker species. Young aliens proved their worth by killing prey animals, while older ones competed to see who could destroy entire civilizations most efficiently. The concept of prey that fought back effectively was completely outside their understanding. The second phase of Operation Bloodhound focused on Vorthak supply lines and communication networks. Bobby Chen had designed electromagnetic pulse weapons that could disable alien technology without destroying it completely. Human forces captured intact Vorthak equipment and used it to track down hidden enemy bases and fleet positions. Maria Santos' intelligence work proved invaluable as she intercepted alien communications and learned about their command structure. The Vorthak were panicking as reports came in about failed hunting expeditions and destroyed fleets. Their leaders were starting to blame each other for underestimating human capabilities and tactical skills. The most shocking discovery came when Dr. Rodriguez analyzed genetic samples from different Vorthak clans. The aliens were not a naturally evolved species. They had been created by some unknown civilization as living weapons designed specifically for hunting and destroying other intelligent life forms. This explained their incredible physical abilities and their obsession with killing. General Lopez realized that Operation Bloodhound was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. The Vorthak were not acting alone, but were part of some galactic conspiracy to eliminate potential rival civilizations before they could develop advanced technology. Humanity had stumbled into a war that had been going on for millions of years. The third week of operations brought news that changed everything. Scout ships had found the remains of dozens of destroyed civilizations in Vorthak territory. Each one had been systematically hunted to extinction by alien forces, using the same tactics they had tried on humans. But humans were the first species to successfully fight back and win battles consistently. Captain Morrison received orders to lead deep strike missions into Vorthak home territory using captured alien ships and navigation data. His crew would pose as returning hunters while gathering intelligence about enemy homeworlds and military installations. The missions were incredibly dangerous but provided crucial information about Vorthak weaknesses. The aliens were starting to change their tactics in response to human success. Instead of small hunting parties, they began sending larger military forces with better coordination and heavier weapons. But this played directly into human advantages since large formations were easier targets for coordinated attacks and electronic warfare. Major Johnson developed new training programs that taught human soldiers to think like apex predators rather than traditional military units. The key was patience and persistence. Humans would track Vorthak forces for days or weeks until the perfect opportunity to strike presented itself. This kind of long-term planning was completely foreign to alien hunters. The psychological impact on Vorthak society was becoming severe. Their young warriors were refusing to participate in hunting expeditions against humans, while their leaders argued about whether to continue the war or find easier targets elsewhere in the galaxy. Several alien clans had already withdrawn their forces from human space entirely. Dr. Rodriguez' biological weapons program produced even more effective agents that could be spread through Vorthak air and water supplies. The aliens had no immunity to Earth diseases, and their medical technology could not cope with biological warfare tactics. Entire alien bases were abandoned when infections spread through their populations. Intelligence reports showed that some Vorthak clans were considering surrender or negotiation with human forces. This was unprecedented in their history since they had never encountered prey that could not only resist but actually hunt them in return. The psychological trauma was destroying their confidence and military effectiveness. By the end of the fourth week, Operation Bloodhound had eliminated over 200 Vorthak hunting parties and captured enough alien technology to reverse engineer their most advanced weapon systems. More importantly, human forces had rescued thousands of prisoners from dozens of different species who could provide information about other civilizations. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Retribution as it prepared for the final phase of the operation. The captured Vorthak navigation data had revealed the location of their primary homeworld and main fleet concentration. Humanity was ready to take the war directly to the aliens who had tried to hunt them. The prey had become the predators, and now the real hunt could begin. Admiral Patricia Wells authorized Operation Extinction Protocol from the command ship UES Vengeance as the largest human fleet in history prepared to attack Vorthak homeworlds. The irony was not lost on anyone that humans were now using the same extermination tactics that the aliens had planned to use against them. But this time the hunters had become the hunted. Captain Morrison led the primary assault fleet toward Vorth Prime, while Colonel Davis coordinated ground operations across 17 different alien worlds simultaneously. The Vorthak had never faced an organized military campaign of this scale, and their defenses were designed for hunting individual species, not fighting. Coordinated interstellar warfare. The human fleet included ships crewed by survivors from dozens of different species that the Vorthak had tried to hunt over the centuries. Commander Walsh had trained mixed units where humans provided tactical coordination, while other species contributed their unique abilities to the war effort. The Zephyrians could phase through solid matter, while the crystalline beings could absorb energy weapons. Dr. Rodriguez had perfected biological weapons that could destroy Vorthak ecosystem completely. The weapons used engineered viruses that ate through alien plant life and contaminated their water supplies with toxins that were harmless to other species, but deadly to Vorthak biology. Entire planets could be made uninhabitable for the aliens within days. The first attacks began when human stealth ships infiltrated Vorthak orbital defenses, using captured alien identification codes. Bobby Chen had modified the ships to emit the same energy signatures as returning hunting vessels, while concealing their true armament and crew composition. The aliens never suspected that their own technology was being used against them. Lieutenant Kelly Adams commanded a fighter wing composed of pilots from 12 different species who had all lost family members to Vorthak hunters. Their attack patterns were unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered, because each species contributed different flight capabilities and weapon systems to create unpredictable combined formations. The battle for Vorth Prime lasted 6 hours and ended with complete human victory. The alien homeworld defense fleet was destroyed while human losses were surprisingly light. Major Johnson Marines fought through alien cities, using urban warfare techniques that the Vorthak could not counter effectively since they had only learned to hunt in wilderness environments. The most dramatic moment came when Hive Lord Krextai challenged Captain Morrison to single combat according to ancient Vorthak warrior traditions. The alien leader was desperate to salvage some honor from the devastating military defeats his people had suffered at human hands. Morrison accepted the challenge but brought backup forces which horrified the aliens. The concept of group tactics in individual combat was completely foreign to Vorthak culture. Their warriors had always fought alone to prove their personal strength and hunting skills. When Morrison teams surrounded Krextai and attacked from multiple directions, simultaneously, the alien leader could not adapt to the coordinated assault patterns. Dr. Rodriguez watched the final battle and realized that humans had discovered something more important than just military victory. They had proven that intelligence and cooperation could overcome physical superiority and individual combat skills. The Vorthak represented everything that was wrong with predator species that relied only on strength. The surrender of Vorthak forces across the galaxy happened within weeks as news of their home world defeat spread through alien communication networks. Many Vorthak clans simply abandoned their hunting territories and fled to unknown regions of space rather than face human military forces in direct combat. Intelligence. Officer Santos interrogated captured alien leaders and learned the full extent of the galactic hunting conspiracy. The Vorthak had been created by an ancient machine intelligence that wanted to eliminate all organic civilizations before they could develop enough technology to threaten artificial life forms. This revelation changed the entire scope of the conflict. Humanity was not just fighting to protect themselves from alien hunters, but was part of a much larger war between organic and artificial intelligence that had been going on for millions of years across the galaxy. The machine intelligence had created many different hunter species over time. Admiral Wells convened a meeting of all liberated species to discuss forming a galactic alliance against the machine intelligence threat. The humans would provide military coordination and tactical expertise, while other species contributed their unique technologies and abilities to the war effort against artificial enemies. Captain Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the new interspecies defense force that would hunt down remaining Vorthak forces and search for other machine-created hunter species. His crew from the original Frontier expedition became senior officers in the expanding human fleet. Dr. Rodriguez established the Galactic Biological Defense Institute to develop weapons and countermeasures against artificially created life forms. Her research showed that machine intelligence had been experimenting with organic weapons for millions of years and would likely create new hunter species if the Vorthak experiment failed. The liberated species were amazed by human tactical abilities and coordination skills. Many of them had advanced technology that surpassed human capabilities, but none had developed the kind of persistent cooperative warfare that made humans such effective predators when threatened by superior individual opponents. Commander Walsh trained mixed species military units using lessons learned from the Vorthak War. The key was teaching different species to work together, despite their various physical and mental capabilities. Human officers served as coordinators while alien soldiers provided specialized combat abilities. Major Johnson established training centers on former Vorthak worlds where species that had survived alien hunting could learn defensive tactics and guerrilla warfare techniques. The goal was to ensure that no species would ever again be helpless against machine-created hunters. The war crimes tribunals that followed the conflict established new galactic laws about hunting intelligent species and using biological weapons against civilian populations. The Vorthak survivors were forced to undergo genetic therapy that removed their predatory instincts and aggressive behavior patterns 1 year after the end of the Vorthak, where Captain Morrison stood on the observation deck of the new space station Unity 1 watching ships from 47 different species working together on joint military exercises. The galaxy had learned about humanity through the conflict and approached Earth with both respect and caution. Other species were impressed by human adaptability and tactical thinking, but also worried about what would happen if humans ever decided to become aggressive conquerors instead of defensive coordinators. The same abilities that made them effective against the Vorthak could potentially threaten other civilizations. Dr. Rodriguez assured alien diplomats that human nature included strong ethical principles that prevented them from hunting other intelligent species for sport or resources. But she also made it clear that humans would respond to any future threats with the same devastating effectiveness they had shown against the Vorthak. The message was received and understood throughout the galaxy. Humans were willing to be peaceful neighbors and helpful allies, but they were also capable of becoming apex predators when circumstances required it. The species that the Vorthak had dismissed as weak prey had become something far more dangerous. Admiral Morrison finished his report to the Galactic Council and looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere in the vast darkness machine, intelligence was probably creating new hunter species to threaten organic civilizations. But now the galaxy had humans to coordinate its defenses. The hunt would continue, but this time humans would be doing the hunting.